first of all, massive thank you to Karen from Perfect Match Presenters, an agency. It's super to actually get to talk to you, Karen. As I was just mentioning, I love to have all the industry experts who can just give so much experience and knowledge, the do's, the don'ts, the things that when I started out as a presenter all those years ago, um, it was like I really did make every mistake in the book, fumbling around, not knowing what to do, and really didn't know where to turn. And it's really only because I've made all those mistakes, I think, that I'm here now. And so it's super to have you with us. Thank you. First of all, what is your background in entertainment, in television, in presenting, in speaking, in training? Where do you come from, Karen?
Yeah, right. So I'm sort of a bit like you, really. I would say kind of 100 years ago we started. So, I mean, I actually started performing from really young, from about at the age of 3. And I went to sort of a theatre and dance performance school and did that all of my life, and always had that goal that, yes, I was going to perform. And I knew that. And so, when I matured, I actually went to a place called the Guildford School of Acting. And studied there for 3 years, which was amazing. Loved it. And I went into musical theatre first off. So shows, performing, paying roles such as Mrs. Potipharee Joseph, and then even had a stint, which some will remember, some won't, depending on age, on a ship called the QE2.
Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, perform musicals, travelling around the world, and actually, sort of loving it. And so when I came back from that, I sort of had a rethink and thought, well, there's actually a lot more to the business. I love that side, but I wanted to explore it more. And so what I decided to do, which is actually not a bad thing for anybody to do, really, is I went and studied journalism and media law. Not really thinking where it might lead me to, but it actually led me to working in radio news, so news broadcasting for London radio stations, and then for an American newswire agency called PR Newswire. So we produced news stories that went out worldwide. So all those skills I learned, which actually a lot of them really had crossed over from my days of presenting in front of camera. I brought all of that experience to that role. And then worked doing that for a good number of years. And alongside that, because I was freelancing, I actually worked in shopping TV as well, which you all know Brian. Yeah. So I worked at QVC. And then I was part of the startup team at Ideal World. So way back in 2000.
Wow.
Yeah, I was there with my husband. So we were a bit of a double act. Which is really good fun. And then on leaving there, I did lots more freelancing. I had a stint on Sky Sports, a number of shows that I did there. And then along the way, actually, I'd also got into the corporate presenting. There was a big market for that, sort of back, I suppose, 2006-ish. Before the crash happened in 2008. So we were doing lots of live events, which again, from my theatre and performance days, that all crossed over. Lots of product launches, facilitating conferences, which meant lots of travel.
Yeah.
And along the way, people were asking if we knew anybody else that maybe could, we were looking for a different type that the client was, if anyone else we knew. And we thought, oh, great, we can help our friends. So my husband and I loosely ran an agency that wasn't really formulated, but helped people. And then 3 years ago, that's when I sort of formulated everything and set up PMP, or Perfect Match Presenters.
Fantastic. And something you were saying there that just sort of came into my mind as you were saying, yeah, you'd done the cruise ships, musical theatre, and then corporate presenting, TV presenting, radio, journalism. Do you think that, because I started off in acting, and then I did some stand-up comedian thing nonsense, and then presenting, and then live TV. And I just think, just as a performer, although they're very different disciplines, if you like, the fundamental performance of all of those is the same thing, is that convincing yourself of a mood or of not a personality. The personality is yours, but of an energy, of enthusiasm. And it's the fundamental performance is the same in almost all of those disciplines, that you can, they're like transferable skills.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree with that. The one thing that is different from acting is you are playing a part when you're acting. And as you alluded to there, when you're presenting, you're you.
Hmm.
You have to be authentic because the audience will see through that straight away.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is, I'd say, the only difference really. But yes, all of those, that energy, you're so right. It really does cross over, and that's so important for when you're, you know, sending show reels or links to show reels into agents. You know, they've only got a few seconds that they're going to be looking at, so you need to be grabbing attention very, very quickly. You haven't got a minute for, even for somebody who's casting, they're not going to take and watch a whole minute of the show reel unless they're grabbed, you know, right at the beginning. They
Yeah.
see something, you know, that really gets their attention.
So one of the things with showreels that we try to do as much as possible when we produce them, and we only produce a very few of them, just because they take so long to get right, and they have to be totally individual and totally unique, and they have to show that personality, that brand, and everything. But what we try to do is, like, the first clip, perhaps, like one of the best clips we can find of them, for 10 seconds, and then get onto another clip, another 15, 20 seconds perhaps. And in that way, in the first 30 seconds, we're hoping that we can possibly get 3 clips in that somebody might actually see. And I think as you've just said, putting 4 5 minutes of me on shopping TV, it just isn't acceptable anymore.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. And I would say, you know, a strong, that very strong first piece to camera that is attention grabbing,
Yeah.
and then move on. And there are a couple of, you know, sort of fundamentals really that you can move on to, which it's always good to have an interview on your show reel. That's showing another skill,
Yeah.
which is often used, whether it is, you know, if you're going into TV, whether if you're online, you're a YouTuber, or whether it's going to be something, you know, in the corporate world that you're off doing a project on. So interview technique is great to hone as well. And then a bit of walking and talking to camera, always good to see, because if you're out on location, again, that's something that you're often, as an establishing shot, that can be the first sort of shot of the day. So you've got to have in your head your lines if you haven't got auto cue, but then you've got to be able to, you know, start on your mark, you know, compose yourself, deliver the lines, and then move while you're delivering those lines. So that's another really good skill to have and to sort of put into your show reel as well.
Yeah, so when you're looking at presenters, then people who apply to you, and I'm sure you must get loads and loads of people all the time saying, "Oh, here's my show reel," and all the rest of it. But that energy, enthusiasm, and passion of being able to be themselves, that's one thing you're looking for, I'm guessing. But what you also like to see are the skills, the talent to be able to walk and talk, as you say, to
Mm.
be able to interview. And I think a lot of people get interviewing wrong in as much as they think it's a list of 10 questions that they read out. And that's not really, I mean, actually, in factual entertainment, it is a little bit more like that. And something like The Country File, it's pre-recorded.
Mm.
They probably do have 3 questions that they read out, but actually anything that's live, it's far more spontaneous. It's far more being able to think on your feet, being inquisitive and relying on your own curiosity, and it's in itself is a talent to have. So you like to see the energy, enthusiasm, the performance, but also the skill set to do the job.
Yeah, absolutely. And where you were talking about interviewing, and something else that's key with interviewing is listening
Hmm.
to what your interviewer is saying, because that could then, you know, bounce back and lead into your next question that you're then being inquisitive about. And as you said, if you're rigidly stuck to those 10 questions, then you're going to run into trouble,
Yeah.
because it's not going to be engaging for the audience, because it's sort of going to be by route. And all of these things can be practiced. And, you know, from where we started, Brian, you know, we didn't have mobile phones that we just clipped onto a little stand,
I
did
know.
we?
Yeah.
Oh, you know, we just had to practice in front of a mirror. So now, you know, people have got the added advantage of all this brilliant technology that you can set aside your time and practice those elements.
Yeah.
Get yourself a script, or if you're an expert or an influencer and you're going to be, you're sort of out of the box with a makeup product or, clothing items or whatever it is, you can practice that at home. It's really simple.
Moving on again, something else you were just touching on there that I'm interested in is you were saying that if you're an influencer, if you're in makeup, or all these different areas, how important do you think it is for a presenter now to have some sort of brand? The days of I just want to be on telly, I'll do anything. Are they going? Are they disappearing? Do we have to be a product, a brand now?
I think that is coming through more and more, definitely. Here at the agency, we do a cross-section of projects. So we do get a lot of corporate clients that come to us. So those can be videos that will go out on their websites, that will show at conferences, will go across their social media. Some of them can be very news-led, informative videos as well. So sort of journalism, news background is ideal. But again, if you think about that, that's an expertise.
Mm-hmm.
That is training that you've done. So I would say, yes, definitely brand expertise is coming through more and more. We'll just be or will be working on a really nice show that's coming back to ITV. It's all very hush hush, zip zip at the moment.
Are we going to get an exclusive here with TV training?
I know, but all very hush hush. It was all put on hold because of where we are at the moment.
Sure.
Yeah, rehearsal had started and then all had to stop near the end of March, but it's mooted that that's all going to be coming back. We're looking at potentially late summer, but that's dependent on how much movement there is. Yeah. But the presenter that's been cast for that or booked for that came from very much a children's sort of entertainment background of the CBBC, the Disney, and his show reel reflected that. Yeah, very much so. And then something else beyond that is your presence on the social platforms as well. Those can be looked at a lot now by people that are casting for, for TV presenting as well.
I was wanting to ask you about the social platforms, social media platforms as well, because they are massive. And in fact, some castings and auditions now that they put out on things like Star Now and Mandy or whatever it might be, they actually say we want you to have 10,000 followers on Instagram or whatever it is. So I mean, it is so important to have that presence up there. What can people do though if they haven't got that? If they are brand new to all of this, maybe they've got a Facebook, maybe they've got an Instagram, but there's pictures up there of them out with the boys or out with the girls on a Friday night, having a few beers and dancing on the table and swinging their pants around their head. Mm. Is that all okay, or do we need to totally clean that up?
Yeah, I would advise, clean that up.
Right, let me just get on Facebook.
I know, because if you think about it, if it was for children's TV, that you were looking to cast for CBBS, and we actually do quite a lot for BBC Bite Size, which is the online platform, and that's really come to its fore at the moment with all the kids being at home. So yes, I would advise against having those sort of images up there, definitely. Anything relevant, that shows that you are passionate about, working in kids TV, or it might be, a sport, it might be football that is your real passion. You can get out and you can do the keepy uppies and, show people that, and also your knowledge around that subject as well is really, really important.
Yeah.
And there's lots of things that you can be doing. It does take time and it takes preparation as well, which is really, really important before you even get in front of the camera, because you don't want to be waffling on, because again, people will turn off from that. So, those sorts of things, really important. But again, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. And if you really, really do want it, then, you're going to put that time in.
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. So, what would you say is perhaps one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they're approaching an agent, an agency, looking for representation? What should they just? You must have seen some things
Yeah.
sometimes, and they just think you should never do that ever.
Well, yeah, yeah, I can think of, because we, like a lot of agencies, will have a contact page that people can send their details through. Some will have more information, some might have a specific email. You know, I'll get "Dear Sir" that comes through, and I think, hang on a minute, where's the sir? You
Yeah.
know, do your research as again around who you're looking to send your information to. You know, and I'll get badly written information as well, not grammatically correct. I sometimes won't even get a showreel link put in the detail. They'll just say, I found your website and thought I'd make contact. I'm looking to be a presenter. I've done a bit on radio, and I've done some video. You know,
Yeah.
that doesn't tell me anything.
No.
No. So yeah. So I really need to sort of, in that instant, you know, find out about you as well, and why, which is key, that you feel you could be the right fit for the agency, which then tells me you've done research, you've looked at the website, you've probably, or perhaps followed on social media, you've seen some of our posts. So you've got an idea of the sort of jobs that we have that come to us. And then, you know, be very considered with what you put together. And include as much detail as possible, your experience, your expertise, if you're an influencer, any clips you've got. You know, at that stage doesn't necessarily have to be a finished show reel, especially if you're new to the business and you're just starting out, because, you know, through looking through, we can always give advice and then pointers, you know, like, you know, as you said, coming to yourself for show reels that will really stand up, will stand out, will be professional, because again, that's important when you get to that stage. Sound is really important on your show reel, as is the editing quality. If it is just a little clip that you're sending just to say you're starting out, that's fine, we understand that. But when you're getting to those next stages, those elements of having a really nice polished show reel are important, because then you're going to stand out again against everybody else.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, what's your opinion when you must do it, because I see show reels, and one of the things that I kind of pride myself on, or on the company on a bit, is that, you know, for many years now, I would be very disappointed if anybody was to look at one of our show reels from one of our master classes and go, oh yeah, that's a TV Training Academy one. The idea is that they just wouldn't know. It's a collage of bits of work, or it appears to be. Yeah, we're not saying they're on the BBC, but if it looks like it's on the BBC and they think it's, well, you know, sorry it misled you, but if it gets a foot in the door, then it's kind of doing its job. Do you think that's fair enough?
Yeah, no, I do think that's fair enough. And again, it's showing some experience as well.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
also it's showing that you're working towards what your goal is, because you've worked hard to get to that stage of, you know, having that all put together, working on it, working with professionals. Because also, and it's another good point actually, through, you know, coming to the academy, Brian, people are then, in that instance, they're working with professionals, so they're actually getting an idea as to what it's like to be on a professional shoot.
hmm,
So coming and doing that is really invaluable, because
yeah,
also that is, of course, that's part of the role of being a presenter, and then going on to shoots. Obviously, we've all got to learn, we've all got to start out, but being in that environment can be really helpful as well. And
yeah,
also it will help then, as I say, when you get onto a shoot, because on shoots, time is normally invaluable. You know, everyone's quite often up against it. And so, again, with all that research and that preparation that you're starting to learn to do, that then carries you forward for when you're working in a completely professional environment as well.
Yeah, well, that's why one of the things that we do, and I don't know if you've seen any of our footage, but we have the a 10-minute show that we have all our guys do. It's a multi-camera, it's talk back, it's as live, and we get in a we we do this, and I don't think anybody else does this. But the reason we do it, we get in a celebrity guest. So we have people like Mike Reed come in, and or we have Simon Williams, who the actors from The Archers and stuff like that. But people who are real industry professionals. They've been around the block. They've been in front of cameras and microphones all their lives. And then you get a new presenter who sits in front of them. And then all of a sudden, it's kind of like, oh, their nerves are there. And that preparation then just gives you a little bit more confidence, perhaps, than somebody who is just taking a bit of phone footage, perhaps, and or whatever it might be. So I think confidence that you can you see that confidence in people when they walk through the door if you're auditioning or if you're looking at stuff, can you just see they've got that confidence?
Yes, yes, you can. And actually, I was on a call recently, and it's really interesting you should bring that up, because there was a young presenter on the call who is a musician, and she'd been given an opportunity by one of the BBC channels. It possibly was BBC Two, I can't quite remember. But she said it was the first time she'd ever been, to something like that, or being put in that situation. And actually, she said, my confidence, I just knew that my confidence wasn't there when I was in that situation. She learned from that, she said. So she said, I know what I need to do for next time.
Yeah.
But she said, I needed to be at that point when I opened that door, stepped into that room, that I had that confidence straight away.
Yeah.
And that was something she said, she's now working on, and she knows, which is always good. We're always learning. So she now knows for next time, she knows where she needs to be.
Yeah,
So
I think
really important.
this is one of the big mistakes. I think when I started out as a 21-year-old going to auditions and stuff like that, they would say, right, well, we're going to ask you to interview, or we're going to ask you to do some talk back or whatever. And I'd go, oh, well, I've never done that before, but I'll wing it. I'll be all right. And it's kind of like, no, you won't.
Oh, no, not with talk back. No.
No, not.
That's one of these, isn't it?
Yeah,
It really is. Yes, totally.
yeah.
And any experience that you can have, on talkback interviews, as we were talking about, will be valuable, because obviously when you're going into an audition situation, you're more nervous anyway.
Yes.
So having, those sort of boxes ticked with experience will be really, really helpful.
No, absolutely. No, that's so important. Now, there was something else that I was just thinking about. When, whoa, where was it? No, not that one, not that one, not that one. When you're working with presenters, I get the feeling sometimes when I'm working with people who have been in the industry for 1 or 2 years, they think, oh, I've got an agent, I'm going to put my feet up now, and that's me, I'll just wait for the telephone to ring. I think that's rarely the case, but what do you think? Because I think they still need to work for themselves, or what's the relationship, and what should they be doing when they get an agent?
Yeah, so that's a really, really good question, Brian. So we like to have a really personal relationship with our presenters, so we get to know them all. It's not that people, obviously we get a lot of detail and information sent in and people contacting us, but we like to meet them all have a phone call, meet them all face to face, actually, to find out what they're looking for, with regard to potentially coming on to the agency, what their aspirations are, and whether that will be a good fit. And then, once we decide, yes, that is, and, we've got a good starting point with perhaps footage they've got or something, maybe they can go away and do some more work on. Then from my side, obviously, we've got relationships that we've built up in the industry and contacts that we're working with regularly. So I can immediately think, yes, I know that, Jane, who's just come onto the agency, she's going to be ideal for that client when they're next, looking for somebody for their next project. And I make sure, excuse me, that, and again with the agency, we've got certain requirements that we need from presenters. So we need that really good quality show reel. We need a bio that sells you as an individual, and we'll help with that as well. And we need really good quality photos, and that one I can't stipulate enough, because often I will get lovely photos that come through, and there'll be a whole brief that we send out that tells you exactly what we need for the website, but they have to be, for our particular website, 1 meg and above. Otherwise they will appear grainy on the website, and I have a designer that works on those, and they'll just knock them back. No, Karen, no, quality's not good enough. We need it to be, high res. So, come back to me when you've got those. So that again is all about, getting everything you need. This is part of you getting your brand, all together, really.
Yeah.
And your marketing tools together. So, it might not just be, as you were talking about there, Brian, for the agency. As you said, it's still important that you are, putting yourself out there as well. But also, something else I would say is to keep the detail up to date. Really, really important, because you don't want, a piece of show reel that's 5 years old, that then you're trying to get a job on, children's TV, and you don't look like that. And the same with your photo, you've got to look like you.
What would you say is the oldest clip then for show reels or photos? Is it a yearly update, 2 years, 3 years? It's getting on a bit, isn't it?
It is. And what we've done in this time, because obviously we've all got more time, is we've sent out to our presenters a whole directive of new bio, new show reel clips, up-to-date photos. If you've got them, great, that is brilliant. We've been pushing for that anyway with certain people. I know it's difficult at the moment, if we're not doing face-to-face, but as much detail that can be updated as possible, get that done. And so that's been a big job for us. But the other thing that it does do, and again, this is absolutely key, is for search engine optimization, Google loves new content. So it loves new video, it loves new images. And we're very fortunate with our business and what we do. It is led by video, it's led by images, which really helps. And also that helps for when production houses, any companies that are looking for presenters for work, because they will do Google searches. Yes, we have our regular clients, but we're building our client base, and we work really hard on our search engine optimization to keep up our rankings up. And so if you were to, it does change very regularly, it can change daily. But for example, if you were to Google corporate presenters, last week we were #1 on the search. TV presenters, we were at #3. And so we are working constantly at keeping those rankings up. So and it can be someone senior in a production company, it might be an assistant that is given the task, saying, right, we're looking for presenters, we've got this new pilot for a TV show, can you go and find us some suggestions? And quite often they will do a Google search. And so with that updated information from presenters, new show reel clips, new photos, it's absolutely key. And something else as well as that is, that's why we do our social media. We will do blog posts, and we will keep that all relevant. And if we've, with jobs that have been going on, if we get footage in, we can use, we'll put that out as well on those. And so what I'm saying there is we're working on your behalf as an agent. So we don't just, we don't charge at all for anyone to come on the agency. We have our brief that we send out, and we have your requirements that all come in. We upload all of that, so we do all of that work. And then, you know, behind the scenes, we're working hard with our current clients on your behalf, but then also we're looking for new clients. And the way we do that is by promoting the agency, but ultimately we're promoting you, and we'll share that on platforms, and we'll do focuses as well on our presenters. So yeah, that's how, you know, we really, and we pride ourselves in doing that, because it works both ways. It helps both of us. And then if you've got something, a picture that you've taken on a job that we're allowed to post, because we always have to get permission, and you put that on your social, then we say tag us in,
Right.
you know, because that reach will then be further.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So those photos and show reels, then they, you know, that's the first thing that these clients who you're attracting and going to, great, I know running a business,
Yes.
how hard that is to be on the first page for those keywords. It takes an enormous commitment. So the first thing that they're going to look at for any of the presenters is the photos and the videos, and if they're not up to scratch, then what sort of chance have we got? Because there's others choices to have. So they are so important.
Yes, yeah, you're absolutely right. And you're right, because we never know when we're approached how many other agencies have been approached. And we like to make sure, yeah, everything is completely up to date, and we're matching the brief. You know, we're perfect match presenters. So, you know, that's what we look to do. We look to match the client brief. Exactly. And if it is something a little bit more specific that I feel isn't on somebody's show reel, some people have got bits that they haven't been updated. We've got an opportunity on the website to put individual clips, rather than, because we know it takes time, energy and money to update show reels, unless you do your own editing. Some people do these days, but the majority don't. And so I'll say to people, if you've got a clip that, you know, from a recent job that we're allowed to put onto the website, send it in, and then that is more likely to be more up to date and more relevant. And it could be that that's the clip that actually, you know, will get you that job, or will get you, you know, into that shortlist.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that's excellent advice to, you know, constantly just be sort of current in a way. Just always be doing something. If somebody sort of comes into an audition, the first question they generally ask is what you've been up to. And, you know, if you go, oh, I've been washing my socks and watching Netflix, it's kind of like, well, that's not really what we meant. It's, you know, what are you doing? So just being able to say, oh, well, I was out, you know, last week in Cookham by the river doing some filming for a little website thing, and anything, because, you know, if you haven't actually been working, to be able to say, oh, well, actually, I was filming last night for a YouTube channel. Oh, that's better than saying I was washing my socks. So being current is really important. But going back to that relationship between presenter and agent, what would you say about just sort of just keeping in touch? I mean, is it the case? I imagine if you've got 40, 50, 60, I don't think you've got 60, but if you've got a huge, you know, a fairly large number of presenters or performers on your books, if everybody's phoning up every day or even every week, does that get a bit much if they're just phoning up for a chat? How do you like to run that relationship?
Yeah, you know, we don't mind having calls come in, definitely, because especially now with, you know, supporting everybody, and emails or calls, or even just a little message, you know, because we all use all these different mediums these days. So if, you know, we can't take a call then and there, I'll look to diarise and say, yeah, sorry, I can take the call. I'm around, you know, Wednesday at 4:00. I'll give you a buzz then, and we'll look to catch up. And we particularly now have been doing that a lot with presenters. And, you know, something else that we've all been doing is, because, you know, a lot of producers, assistant producers are around projects you've worked on, what we've all been doing is trying to get footage in that is quite often really difficult to get. And so we've been having conversations about, oh, we haven't had that video from that lovely job that you did, you know, 3 months ago, right? Let's C, you give it a go. If you don't, then I'll give it a go. So we're having those kind of conversations.
Yeah.
But those won't go away. But yes, I mean, if we're busy and we're snowed under, then we'll do a little reply, say busy, we're available here, we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so one of the other things is as well, because lots of people out there don't have agents. They do just use casting websites and perhaps just approach a few producers and stuff like that. But what would you say are the main benefits of actually working alongside? I mean, I think I know what they are, but I'm just throwing it out there. Perhaps if somebody was wondering, why come to an agent?
Yeah, so I would say, obviously, we've got existing contacts that we're already working with. We've built relationships up with those contacts over the years, and they will come back to us when they've got new projects that are coming up. And then, as I said, with the work that we do on the website to keep us up on the rankings, we have new clients coming through all the time. And sometimes, it's fantastic that, and I'll say, oh, how did you find us? If it's a new inquiry, and they say, oh, we Googled, we found your website, and we could see that you have the right type of talent that we're looking for. Aside from that, and then, if somebody is offered a position, a role, they're cast in a production or on a project, we're taking care of all of that liaison between the producer, the production house, whoever is, sorting that side of things out. So we're dealing then with fees and budget on your behalf. We're also looking at contracts for you,
Right.
and we will go through contracts, and we have lawyers that will look at contracts as well, especially if they're complex contracts or something that's going to be ongoing or looks like it's something a bit different. So we deal with all of that side of things for you. And then if at all it happens, which occasionally it does, if there is an issue with money's not coming through, then we will deal with that, all of that for you. So we take all of that headache away.
Yeah.
And you've got to think about is, going to the job, getting on set, really looking forward to it, enjoying it. You might have a makeup artist costume there, you might not, you might have, and we'll deal with all of that again. We'll find that information out. Is there a hotel overnight? What are the travel expenses? Is there a makeup artist? Is it own costume? Are you providing? What detail do you need? And even down to, special dietary requirements. We'll find all of that out from our presenters, and we'll have that all, and we send that off.
Yeah.
So those are, the things that we're doing on your behalf.
Absolutely. One of the questions that I get quite often from new presenters, and not just new presenters, people who've been, they've come through our doors and they stay in contact with us, and they go, oh, Brian, I've got an audition, I've got a job, or they've asked me to do the job for me, but they're asking me what my daily fee is. What do I do? And I always remember when that used to happen to me, I was just like, oh, I hated it because I didn't want to outprice myself, but I didn't want to go under and stuff like that. So when I got my first agent, it was just like, thank goodness, I didn't have to worry about that. What would you say? I mean, I know it's an impossible question, really, but
Yeah.
what would you say is a good rule of thumb then for when a production company says to you, what's your daily rate?
Yeah, it is a good question. And, sometimes if you can, it can be perhaps worth finding out about the production company, almost the size of the production company, the type of projects they generally work on, and the type of clients they're working with. And if it's somebody potentially that could be, a big international client, or you can see that, they're doing a lot of work for these clients, it might give you more of an idea as to what the rate, can be that you can charge.
Sure.
If it's, it might be, which is fantastic, a small startup company. And you might take a view that actually, probably their budgeting perhaps isn't going to be as big as one of the big production companies. It's going to be a smaller production for this. So some of it is actually being a little bit flexible.
Hmm.
around, the rate that you're potentially putting forward. I would always, and things have changed a little bit. Sometimes if you can find out, and this is something we look to do, is to find out where that footage is going to be used as well, what platforms it might be going on, and if you can, how long it's going to be used for.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
like ask these questions all the time. Sometimes the production house doesn't know at that point, or that information isn't forthcoming. So it's one of those. It is a difficult question to answer. I'll be perfectly honest.
It
And just
is.
there isn't a set figure. Let's say no, but you have got to consider. It's going to be a whole day in front of camera. Is there preparation, which there will be, that you've got to do before you step in front of that lens? Is there going to be a big meaty script that comes through that you've got to learn, or are you going to have the luxury of auto cue? So those questions are always good to ask. Some people, though, I know don't like asking those questions.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
really don't, and that's where we really step in. And that's part of what we will do.
Yeah. Well, from my opinion, having an agent when I was an actor presenter was an absolute godsend because I remember the first couple of jobs when I was asked that it was just like, oh, I don't know what, 50 quid or something, and then later on when you get a bit more confident you go, I want $10 squadrillion, and and then you just never hear from them again and went, oh, maybe I went a bit high on that one. But so agents I think are brilliant
Mm.
for all of that sort of stuff. And performers can be performers. Do what you're good at and let somebody else who's good at the other side do that. And that's not just for performers, really. This is business, isn't it?
Mm.
It's just good business practice, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
that's right. It is
yeah.
definitely.
Well, listen, Karen, I have really enjoyed talking to you. I can't thank you enough. As I said, I think it's just such valuable stuff for new presenters to just to hear your thoughts and ideas and tips here and there about what to do and what to do. And I'm sure there are hundreds more questions that the guys on our websites and our subscribers and stuff will want to ask. So,
Mm.
um, can I put you on the spot and can I say, if we get loads of questions, will you come back and do a live like Zoom session for us at some point?
Yeah,
And people can sort of just ask, even if it's for 10 minutes, and they can ask you this, that, and the other. Because and what about if anybody is thinking, oh, I'd like to apply? Can they do that? Can they apply via your website?
yes, yeah, they can. They can. So we are w's.pmpagency.co.uk, and when you go on, there's a contact page. And then do remember to send as much information as you possibly can about yourself, lovely pictures and clips, whether they're finished, polished or not. And we would love to have a look. Yeah, definitely. And I'd love to, join on a Zoom call. And if I can give further information, help people out, definitely would be more than happy to do that.
That
Yeah.
is so cool. Thank you again so much, Karen, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Yeah, look forward to it, Brian. Thanks a lot.